Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the IACT IMDHA Presenters Series. We are here tonight on the fifth installment of this series, by the way, preparing for moving to Mastery, the IACT IMDHA HypnoExpo 2023, which will be here in beautiful Orlando, Florida, May 19th through the 21st. It's going to be an exciting conference, and those of you who have been with us all along have heard a number of presenters as we've gone along. We are presenting in this series the speakers, or having as speakers in this series, I apologize for that, the presenters who will be presenting pre and post-conference programs at the expo. So without further ado, we want to make sure that that they get their time to talk with you and to share their secrets and their magic with you. And the first person up, by the way, really is a magical individual at that, by the way. Karen, would you like to do the honors?
Oh, I would love to. Magical, you took the word right out of my mouth, because that's exactly the way I would describe Shelley Stockwell-Nicholas. I have known her since I was a baby hypnotist and have always been inspired. You will be today too. Shelley is the author of 26 books. A new one just dropped. How about that? She did 4 of her books with Orman McGill. And she's an award-winning advocate for the great work of hypnosis coaches, teachers worldwide. She has appeared as guest on hundreds of radio and TV shows. She goes to conferences, she teaches, she writes. She's everything rolled into one. And we were just talking right before we started that there are a few energizer bunnies in this business. Shelley is one. I think this is winding her up. I'm going to let her go. Shelley, it's all yours. Talk to us about mindfulness, please. Oh, you're muted, though. You're mute.
I should be mindful of the mute button. Okay, this is my moment to share with you how you are amazing. And so we're going to spend the next half hour exploring you and how you can celebrate the very act of being alive. And the word mindful is a very interesting word. It's very action-packed with words that make no sense at all. So let's start with the word mind. And you folks can unmute yourself if you would kindly do so. And please tell me what you think a mind is. Just call it out if you have an idea. What is a mind?
Energy.
Good. Thanks, Patty. Somebody else? What do you think? Michael, what's a mind?
It's so abstract, I can't do it. My brain is saying that I should say my brain.
Your brain. How about you, Karen? What do you think a mind is?
Oh, I think a mind is everything. Body, mind, and spirit all rolled into one.
Okay. So we've got a lot of... Yes?
How about perception?
Perception. Okay. So we've got this word. We use it all the time in our field. We talk about the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the superconscious mind. We have all these fantasies about this word, but nobody even knows what it is. We know that we can manifest or create ideas somehow with this abstract thing called a mind. I've come to believe, because I just wrote a book on this, I've come to believe that mind is neurology. That's all it is. It's neurology, and the whole job of your body is to carry your neurology around. And maybe that's the whole point of being alive. But be that as it may, we're talking about a subject that people share with each other all the time. They say, pay attention, mind your mind, mind your head, mind you, mind, don't mind me, blah, blah. We use a word, but we don't know what it means. And what's very weird in our particular field of study is that we, not knowing what the word mind even means, we've divided it up into realms like conscious mind, subconscious mind, superconscious mind. We've made it like a segmented worm here, and we don't even know what it is in the first place. And then we are brave and stupid enough to even write books, which I did. One of my original books, I said, 10% of your mind, whatever that is conscious. And the other 90% is under the water. And I learned that from somebody, but it's nonsense. That's just total bull. But I believed it because somebody taught me, and then I was going to teach others. And one day I sat down You know those quiet moments when you're alone with your own thoughts? And you say to yourself, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? That makes no sense at all. And so from nonsense, I started focusing on what made sense. Now, I did it in my way, just like you do it in your way. So I thought we'd start out with how you make sense out of things. So we're going to do a little survey among all of the people here. Are you ready? Everybody, close your eyes for just a second. And in your internal being, whatever that is, think of a place you like. It could be a place you've actually visited. Could be a place you've thought about, it could dreamed about, it could be something you heard about or whatever, but just whatever it is, just be in that place 100% and notice what you notice. Is it the way things look, the way things feel, the way things sound, the way things taste, the way things smell, or the way you intuit that place, something beyond the senses altogether? So we'll go through the list and you're going to choose the two that are strongest for you. I'll go through the list and make a mental note, okay? Is it the way things look, the way things feel, the way things smell, the way things taste, the way things sound, or something beyond the senses? And when you have a real clear hit on the two dominant ones, please open your eyes and come back. Just come back, nice stretch, yay. And unmute yourselves, and we're going to do a survey, okay? You can do it with hands raised if you like. You can vote twice, because we're going to take a survey on how many people had among their two dominant senses, the most strong, all their senses. How many of you had as one of your dominant senses the sense of sight? Raise your hand if you had sight. Okay, so I'm going to count just vaguely. I can't see everybody, but maybe 1, 2, 3. There's about half of you on this forum had sight, okay? Now, how many of you on this forum had as one of your two, whoever's talking right now, I don't know who that is, you need to mute. But anyway,
Victoria, would you mute, please?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just realized it's probably the TV. Just a sec.
Thank you.
thanks, Victoria. Okay, so now, how many of you had among your dominant senses the sense of feel or touch? Okay, you can vote twice. About half again. How many of you had the sense of smell? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm a dog too. Okay, I'm a smeller. And how many of you had among your two strongest ones the sense of taste? Nobody in this forum that I could see. Maybe Marjolaine, I'm not sure. And then how many of you had something beyond the senses altogether? You know, something beyond. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It's a little more rare. Okay, now I've been giving this survey for probably 52 years. And I did it because a lot of people, like my friend John, told me that everyone is dominantly visual. And folks, that's not true. And it's not true because only about half of the people in my survey are dominantly visual, which is a problem for hypnotists who say, see yourself walking down a path, see yourself, see this, see that, and see the other. Because what happens when you're not talking to a dominantly visual person, they sit in a chair like Shelley, who's not dominantly visual, and she says, man, I don't see anything. I'm not very good at this. I quit. And that's what happens when you're not talking to your dominant senses. Now, I bring this up because to be mindful means for you to play to your most dominant way of being. So right now, please use your sense of vision, even if you didn't have that as your dominant sense, and look around you. And just notice what's around you right now. You might look up and you might look down and you might look sideways. You just start to notice what you notice. Now, for the non-visual people, they're like Mr. Magoo sometimes in an environment. They don't see things very much. They're just wandering aimlessly using other senses. That's okay. How many of you notice things by doing this little exercise that you hadn't noticed for a while? Raise your hand if you're one of those people. Maybe you notice something around you right now that you hadn't noticed before. Because there's two things involved in vision. One is you see something or you look at something. And there's a very big difference between looking and seeing. So right now, find one thing to look at and really see it. Just really see it. Notice what you notice about it as you look at it. Take a deep breath. Now, did anybody notice more about that thing than they noticed a minute ago? Raise your hand if you noticed more. There you go. You are mindfully envisioning something now. Smell something right now. Just smell the room. Smell. I mean, the smell's always there. You might not notice it. The air is everywhere. Here, let's do something weird. Smell your hand. That's how you smell. Now, if you happen to be a dog like Robert or Christo or the rest of us that raised our hands and were sniffers, I would reckon to say that we smell you sometimes before we see you, because people who are dominantly smell oriented are smelling things that you might not notice. They are focused mindfully on smell. Now take a deep breath again, let it out, and feel your breath. Feel it. Become aware of the feeling of breath going into you and out of you. You might even feel the chair you're sitting on or the bed you're resting on, or wherever you are. Just become aware of the feelings. Now, some of you may have been sitting in that chair or laying in that bed for a while and forgot that you had a bottom sitting in that chair. You might not have felt it at all. Take a deep breath. This is called coming to your senses. Now feel your hand. Go ahead and feel it like a baby would when a baby discovers, oh my goodness, I have a hand. Oh, I can stick it up my nose. I can bite on it. I can chew on it. I mean, go ahead and look at your hands and feel them, smell them, and then feel them again. You're becoming mindful that these are your hands. Something you may have forgotten over time. You use them like your mind, which we don't know what it is, but we may not pay attention to what it is. So these are your hands. Now you've just smelled them. You've just felt them. You've just looked at them. Go ahead, do this, lick them. Taste them. That's your skin. This is an organ that's covering your entire body. This is your wrapping. It's holding you together, because without it, you'd be floating around somewhere, maybe in heaven. But right now you're enraptured in a skin package. So now you're coming to your senses. But there's more senses. There's more than just smell and taste and feel and sight. There is this thing that's this intuitive positioning that you have about what's right and wrong. It's an essential kind of knowing. Nod your head if you understand what I'm talking about. There's this expanded sort of knowing, and it happens right now. And as a matter of fact, all of these things happen all the time, but it's what you're focused on that matters. So what happens to people very often is they become so locked in one sense that they ignore the others, not only in themselves, but in their mate, or in their friends, or in their clients, or in their students. And they make a huge error there. Because if you do not align yourself with the person you're with, your mate, your friends, your clients, your students, your teachers, you miss them. Just like you may not have seen, felt, smelled, tasted, or hands. You miss them. And you wind up not living your life in the present. Now, there's that old hackneyed phrase about they call it the present because it's a gift, but it is the truth. A gift you give yourself is to be here now, to be present in this moment. And one of the things that we do to be present, and most hypnotists use this some way or other in their practices, is they ask the client to take a breath. So let's all do that. Take a breath. Inspiration. Hold it. Let it out with a nice ah. Exhalation. Exhilarating. Let's take it in again. Ah. Now, it doesn't matter if you take the breath in your nose, your mouth. I mean, oh, people will lecture about this till the cows come home. It's irrelevant because people who don't breathe are missing something. They're stymied, they're stifled, they're stagnant. But people who breathe are remembering this miracle called breath. So let's do it again. Here we go. Hold it. Let it out. Ah. Where did it go? It's gone. You just breathed in particles of everyone who's ever been here on the planet, and you held it in your body for that split second, and then you let it out. Oh. And now here's the next breath. And it's always happening. So the easiest way to be mindful, whatever that means, but to come to your senses, whatever that means, is to take the time to be conscious of breath. Because without it, you probably, well, let's see, everybody reach up, feel around, everybody reach up, feel around. If you don't feel a coffin lid, you've been breathing. It's real simple. It's real simple. So we're practicing an idea that's not new. This idea has been taught in the sleep temples of ancient Egypt and beyond that, over 5,000 years ago. And in those temples, people were told to breathe, close their eyes, relax, and then say what comes to mind. Now, saying what comes to mind, whatever that is a really interesting phenomenon. I learned about it the first time when I was in my 20s. I took a drama class, and we did a very interesting exercise. And I'm going to tell you the exercise because you can try it with yourself sometime, or with your clients, or with your friends, or your students. This is what we did. We were to stand on the, or sit on the stage, whatever, be on the stage, probably sit. And we were told to close our eyes and just report what we noticed behind our closed eyes. Just notice what we were noticing behind our closed eyes. So let's do that for a minute. Let's see what happens. But before you begin, look around in your world one more time. This is the world according to you at this moment. Are you with me? Good. Take a deep breath now. Now close your eyes and just be quiet. And I will be quiet as you just notice what you notice. But remember to breathe. So I'm going to ask you now to come back and tell me anything you noticed. Anybody want to share something? Yeah, Michael, what did you notice?
I noticed as soon as I closed my eyes that the sound and the kinesthetic seemed to amp up. And it's what I noticed in the very first visualization. It wasn't that I didn't have a place. I went to a place, a very specific place. what I was most aware of was the feeling of the coolness of the air and the scent of it was a forest, so the scent of the area around. So I
Yeah,
close my eyes and I get more of the others.
that's correct. So what happened in this exercise in class, like Michael, is people started to report what they were noticing. And inevitably, they would be watching a movie through their senses, however that movie was, because there is always an ongoing movie when you close your eyes. As a matter of fact, you don't need to do any trance induction. That's just a waste of time, quite frankly, because the moment you close your eyes, you lose 50% of brain activity that's devoted to vision, and the rest of your brain now has more energy neurologically to focus on the workings of yourself. So let's talk about the workings of yourself. We know you have these sensory inputs that are coming into you all the time. Some you notice, some you don't notice, but they're always around you. And sometimes your intention puts you to focus on them, and sometimes you ignore them. But in spite of that, there's something else operating within you. And that's something that's unique to you, and it doesn't belong to anybody else. And I would say that that one thing that's motivating you is your core essence. Like the caterpillar says in Alice in Wonderland, who are you? Who are you? This core essence, who you really are, is a highly motivating force within you. And when that core essence is not being acknowledged or heeded or paid attention to, you'll have what Robert Otto calls conflict. Or you'll be doing one thing, but not in alignment with your core, your true self. So this is one of the things we're going to explore in the post-conference class, Robert and Linda, is our core essence. Who are we in our essence? But for right now, let's everybody again take a deep breath one more time here. Inspiration, and hold it, and then just close your eyes again. And just imagine that there's an essential you. It goes beyond the senses themselves. It is who you are in your fiber, in your very existence. You might feel it in different parts of your body even. And just ask your brain now, who am I? And see what the brain says. My brain says I'm active. Your brain may say something else. Go into your heart. What does your heart say? What is your essence? Breathe to your heart. What does your heart say? What is your essence? My heart says, I'm lovable. I'm loving. Go to your core, your gut, your third brain, your abdominal brain, the hypnotists call it. Breathe to your gut. Who am I? What is my essential self? My gut says kindness. Whatever you just told yourself is a check-in that I would call mindfulness to your essential self. Now, the interesting thing about you as you check into your essential self is that it may go beyond the senses. There may be no sensory input whatsoever, because it's probably some kind of vibratory force field or energy that's hard to define. Kind of like your breath. It's there and then it's vaporized and gone. Kind of like your shadow that's there and then vanishes depending on the way the sun shines on you. But that essence is always there. And it's always a driving force, because that essence is reported to you through what I call the higher self, the all-knowing you, the one that knows right from wrong, the one that talks to you in those quiet moments when you tell yourself the truth about why you want to be organized, or the truth about why you want to lose weight, or the truth about why you want to stay on track, or the truth about why you want to be more loving. That's right. That's good. Take a deep breath now and come back. Ah, nice stretch, palms above your head. The word is yes, 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 yes. Nice stretch. Good job. Good job. So I'm asking you now, anybody can unmute. What was that like for you to kind of connect with that energy? Anybody willing to share something about that for them? Just unmute if you want to share that. Patty, what came up?
When you said truth, that was what came up inside of me. It was something about truth, just very peaceful, just truth.
Yes.
And then you said it.
Isn't that something? That's great. What a coinky dink. Anybody else? What came up for you? What about your essence? Julianne.
I found on the very first phase that I had strength. I was strong, and it was under the skin. So I felt
very
strong.
good. Yes. Anybody else want to share what came up for them? So what's really interesting is that mindfulness has been used, like I said, for thousands of years. We know that we can hypnotize someone to be mindful, but they're always mindful if they turn their beam inward and become aware of self. Now, it's really interesting to be yourself in a world that's working night and day to make you somebody else. I remember E.E. Cummings wrote a wonderful thing to a boy who said, I want to be a poet. And E.E. Cummings said, to be a poet means to say something like no one else has ever said it. And to be a poet means that you would write one line of one word, one phrase, one word, one sentence, the way that only you could say it, not somebody else. Because if you're doing it like somebody else, you're being somebody else. You're being not yourself. But when you're your essential self, you're being you. He said, if you want to really be a poet, do something easy like blow up the world. Unless you want to fight and try again and again to be yourself. I think what we do for a living is we invite people into our space and we invite them to become themselves, to take away all the baloney that we absorbed from our teachers, like 10% and 90% and subconscious and conscious and all that nonsense. To take away all that stuff and own our essence in every moment. And the easiest way is through breath. Now, a lot of people train you in doing all kinds of protocols, and everybody markets it and everybody changes the name of what they're marketing, and they're very clever and I want them to make a living and I'm thrilled to support them. But on the other hand, this is the easiest job in the entire world, because all we do for a living as hypnotists is hold a mirror so that others can reflect on their perfection. And their perfection is doing themselves perfectly their way. And when you hold the mirror steady, then people think you're like amazing and you did nothing but support them in being them. It's a very weird job. And we make a lot of money doing it. And it's very weird. But you see, it's not easy to do this job because most people walk around like this in a hall of mirrors. They only see themselves and what they learned and what their mother taught them, what their father taught them, what their religion taught them, what their society taught them, what their experiences taught them, and they are programmed robotically to relive these scripts. But they don't have to, because that fast you connected to your essence. And then when you live from the essence, then your senses are vital and you're alive and you're feeling like, wow, this is another day. I get to breathe and be alive, and I am true to my essence. And then people are excited. And then people fall in love with themselves, and they do the very thing that all these people were taught never to do. Don't be selfish. Well, that's baloney. Be selfish. Because when you're really selfish and you fall madly, passionately in love with yourself, then you look at everyone else and see how beautiful they are. Because you're watching them fall madly, passionately in love with themselves. And that's what we do for a living. And when we get that, when we really get that, everything changes. Everything changes. Now, I will tell you, I will not work with anyone who doesn't want to be happy. It's just plain and simple. If somebody wants to be miserable, I like to refer them out to some psychologist friends of mine, psychiatrist friends of mine. They refer to me, I refer people out to them. Because if they want to pay to masturbate misery, they can go elsewhere. Because my job is to bring them to bliss. And bliss is acceptance of self in that essential way. Now, I will tell you that you're operating on all kinds of levels all the time. And we all have all of our senses, and we all have all of these wonderful things. But when we focus on it consciously, whatever that means, but when we pay attention, and that's called mindfulness, we start to embrace who we are. So everybody put one hand on one shoulder.
Shelley, we got to stop.
Okay.
Pardon me for interrupting you, Shelley, but we really got to stop because we're stepping on somebody else's time.
Okay.
The thing about Shelley Stockwell, I've got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot contain this lady inside the space of a half an hour like this. So forgive me for that, Shelley, but I do want to let everybody know Shelley is going to be also on Friday at the conference, presenting in the morning on Friday, Consciousness. What's that? I think she's given you a little teaser about that already. And on Sunday afternoon, a free workshop called Stress Be Gone, Playing Your Vagus Nerve Like a Violin. And this lady is a concert master at that. So you've got to go there. You've got to be at that. And her one-day mindfulness class is on Monday, the Monday after the weekend of the conference. So be sure and get in touch with folks down at Hypnosis headquarters and get yourself registered for that so that you can spend time with Shelley because it's always a delight. And you know how much we love you, Shelley. So thanks for letting me cut in on you like that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Shelley.
So it's going to be great, isn't it? And here's the thing that's so cool about this is we've just heard from Shelley Stockwell, and Shelley is one of the ones among us, and those of you who know her know that we tend to associate with more sort of esoteric things and in fact past life regressions, which coincidentally is the topic of our next presenter, who's doing a one-day workshop on past life regressions on Monday as well. Same day, same time. So we need a seminar on bilocation. I think that would be helpful, or even tri-location, so we can be in all of them. But our next presenter is Jacqueline LeClaire. She's going to be presenting on past life regression. We're going to chat with her a little bit about that. She's a certified hypnotherapist. She's been in practice for nearly 3 decades. She is an IACT certified master trainer. She has appeared on national television and numerous radio shows. She has a podcast of her own. She's taught hypnosis training programs all over the country. And she has developed a LeClair method of hypnosis, which is a combination of scientific clinical techniques and her own professional techniques. She is also a certified Reiki and Holy Fire Master, and a certified, now this is a word I've never heard before, so I'm going to have to ask you about it later, Jackie. Certified color puncture practitioner and reader. So welcome, Jackie. We're so glad to have you with us tonight, and welcome to the program.
Thanks so much. And I really just want to, first of all, it's past my bedtime, so I'll do the best I can. And Shelley, I love your programs. I have been taking your programs since I became a hypnotherapist, and I don't really remember what year that was, but it was like maybe 25 years ago. So I've been following you for a long, long time and love your stuff. Yeah. So I think you have a couple of questions for me. I don't have them written down in front of me. So if you just want to, shoot them, or you want me to just talk
I
about
want to jump in, Michael, if you don't mind. And because Jackie, Michael told me that you are a firm believer in past life regression, helping clients. And I can definitely understand and go along with that. I'd like to hear it from you. How does that help clients? How can we help clients with PLR?
I've been doing it for so long, and it never stops to amaze me what happens. So just a couple of examples, which I think I might have even given Michael and might have sent to Linda as well. And these are just things that happened recently. I do a lot of past life regression, one-on-ones and lots of groups. I have one coming up in a few weeks here at my studio. I had, for example, a girl a woman I know for a really long time, who disliked her in-laws. And every time she went over there, she just felt like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to be with them. It's just such a hassle to be with them. I don't like them. I feel that they're infringing on all of just my life. And she's been married for 40 years. She has kids, she has grandchildren. And I put her in hypnosis. I said, let's just see if we could find out going on. And her eyes just popped open at one point. She said, I know what happened. She said, I was enslaved by them thousands of years ago. And she said, because she said, now what I do for them, I do because I want to, not because I have to. And it changed her whole life. And she was 60 years old when she came to me. So she's been going through this for a long time. Another person who came to me for past life regression, she had tried to commit suicide. Beautiful young girl. She's got a baby, just a beautiful young girl. And by the way, both of these people are now hypnotherapists with the International Association of Counselors and Therapists. But this last girl had tried to commit suicide several times. And it turned out when I regressed her, I took her to, or the regression took it to a place that she was on another planet, and the planet was all love. So you didn't have to say I love you and hug somebody. It was just this whole feeling of love, and she was missing that. And it changed her whole life. Really. So just a lot of things come up in past life regression that help people, whether it's true or not, whether you believe in it or not. If you're leaving it out of your practice, you should really think about incorporating it. Did I answer your question there, Karen? Okay.
Absolutely. I believe it can probably help release negative habits and things of that sort too, can it not?
Absolutely. Overeating, and perhaps in another life you were starved, fear of fire, fear of any kind of fears and phobias, not just this life. And of course we do regression as hypnotherapists. We do this all the time, regression. And sometimes people will just take it upon themselves and go back to another lifetime and start discussing what's going on, where they're at, and why they're afraid. And often when it comes to the surface, this is where we jump in as hypnotherapists, but sometimes them just knowing about this event cures them. Okay. And have you noticed that? Who does past life regression here? Does everybody pretty much do so? Okay, so. But yeah, okay. It's just it helps so many people, and that's why I do it. Yeah, but then there's also, the fun. So I'll take people out if I'm working with a group, taking them out of hypnosis, and what was your experience like? And oh, I was the queen of blah blah blah. I've never had that experience. Like, so and so is the town drunk, my uncle John, stuff like that. But I've had people come out with, like, oh my gosh, and this angel picked me up and took me here and there. Some fabulous things. Yeah. Okay. Any other
So, Jackie,
Yeah.
curious from that, are you intentionally leading your clients into a past life regression, or are you doing spontaneous PLRs, or is it a little of both?
I'm going to say a little bit of both. I do, like I said, I do offer past life regression groups and also one-on-one. So I have a lot of that. But every now and then, something just comes up and it's like, oh my gosh, I had an experience with my father 10 lifetimes ago, which was not good. And then we work through that. And yeah, does that make sense to what I'm saying? Good.
Jacqueline, I know, everybody doesn't believe in past lives, and some people do. And there's one teacher in particular, I don't see any need to name it, but that has made it an issue about that, you really shouldn't do past life, you shouldn't offer past life regression to somebody unless they ask for it. And I think that was about this kind of protection about if you sort of put it out there and it's not their thing, but it could, that it could go wrong. I think it's curious because I've always found it interesting to suggest to people, well, I don't know what you believe, but wouldn't it be interesting to consider that if you had lived before, what kinds of experiences you might have had? And I really sort of trust the process to take them to somewhere meaningful that they may at the end of the day go, yeah, that really was a past life, or that was really a fascinating, voyage that I took, but maybe some kind of fantasy that taught me something or gave me something useful.
Yeah. And if, who cares if it's real or not? But if it helped the person, then, that's what we do. We want to help the person. Now I have, so sometimes it goes against religion as well. So I have another person that I'm thinking of who became a hypnotherapist, okay, through my teachings. And then maybe 6 months later, she became a born again Christian. So she took me off her email list. Past life regression, that's against God. I'm also an intuitive, so I do a lot of intuitive readings, and that's frequently on my email list. So she just took me right off there, but she is still a member of IACT. But some people find that it's against their religion, and she is super serious. Now I went to Catholic school. Growing up, I had nuns and all of that. My dad was an atheist. Anyway, but I feel that there's just something more. And I had a near-death experience 11 years ago, and the angels came to me, and they it's a feeling I will never forget, and it opened me up more psychically. And they just said, no matter what happens to you, we will take care of you. So I know that there is something more. I have experienced that as well. So anyway, yeah.
So this is something, I mean, you could describe this as a spiritual experience. And certainly it is that for a lot of people, I'm sure.
As far as past life regression,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people go or come to me just, out of curiosity. I wonder if I did have another life, or where will this take me? And it's interesting to find what they get out of it. it's just very interesting what they get out of it. And a lot of times it builds them up and it just makes them feel better about themselves. Yeah.
I've
So,
seen people doing regressions where they take people to maybe explore certain relationships in their life, but more specifically, agreements made in the past, for example. Is that the
okay.
thing that you do?
That's absolutely something that we do as well. Also between lives, you can sort of help the person. Well, who are you picking out to be your, tell me about your next life. We can talk about that. I had a gentleman who came to me, actually he's my neighbor. I get this phone call and he's like, hey, I think I'm your neighbor, you're Jackie. And his wife had just died and he was, I mean, totally heartbroken. This man was just a totally broken man. I mean, he came in here day one sobbing, day two, and I did this all within 1 week. I took him to a point, I'm not going to say it was, I don't know that we did past life, but we had him meet his wife in the ethers, really, and that was just so healing from him. And then the angels told me that he's going to take over and he's going to begin this group to help people for grief. And he did, and he's got, and this was less than a year ago. I worked with him. He's got like 108 members right now. But we did a little of, we did things, kind of taking them into the ethers to another place, not necessarily past life regression with that, but a lot of that just goes all together. Past life regression, yeah, fantastic. You can help people find out why they've picked their parents that they've been and why they're repeating cycles. Why do they go out with the same jerk off? Okay, where are they going with that same person? Why are they clinging to these relationships that do not serve them? And you could help reframe this. Also, people who have been committing work, who have tried to commit suicide before, take them back and, maybe, I read this one article about a woman who's, she was about to be married and her husband, her fiance was in a sword fight and he was pierced in the heart and he died. And she was taken back by this hypnotherapist to the point right before that. And instead of being pierced through the heart, he was pierced in the shoulder. He recovered. They married and lived happily ever after. So it changed her life as well. What other things do we work on with past life regression? Again, fears and phobias, letting go of things that no longer serve us, letting go of relationships that no longer serve us, bringing them into the light. Oh, you got a little cat? You got a black cat there? Yeah, you do. I have 3 black cats, Mary Beth. 3. How adorable. It just helps people in so many ways. And again, it can just be a spiritual experience, just going on a little journey. And, how was that for you? Tell me about it. And a lot of people just like to do that as well.
Jackie, one of the things that I know often comes up around this topic, because some people are just afraid of it. They're like, oh my God, what if something. One of my favorite phrases is, what if something happens? I sort of thought that was the point, and we like things to happen, but nonetheless, some people are concerned that something might happen. So what if something happens?
Okay. So I've had some things that have happened. Okay. I've had some things that have happened. So I took somebody back. She has also become a hypnotherapist. So I don't know. A lot of my clients become hypnotherapists. And she had neck pain. Anyway, it turned out she was hung. Okay. And she had an reaction. She was crying. And we really just kind of took her back before that time and we reframed it. And I don't, you know what, it was a while ago and I don't remember exactly what we did, but we reframed it and she's, you know, she's okay now. I don't have, I haven't, and I've done a lot of these sessions. I haven't had a lot of them, but if I feel, if I'm looking at somebody, and you know, you can sort of tell if you're looking at somebody and they're moving and they look a little uncomfortable. If you just go up and maybe say, you know, I'm going to touch you on your shoulder, if that's okay. This is me. This is me, Jackie. I'm going to touch you on your shoulder. And I just want you to know that you are here now and you are safe. You can come out of this experience just by counting yourself up from 1 to 5. Okay. You can do that. You can tell them, and I do this too. You know, if we're going to their death scene, I don't always take people to their death scene. I might take, you know, 1 or 2. It's not always necessary. If I feel it's necessary, and I might ask them, you know, if it's necessary, we can go to your death scene. If not, just imagine yourself floating up above it. And let's go to the next area of where you go to a place that's peaceful and tell me about it. And it's really interesting to hear as well. When I do past life regressions sometime, and if I have time in my workshop that I'm doing, because it is several hours, if I have time, we might even do some Akashic records, go to your Akashic records. And I find that is something that is very interesting for a lot of people. And you can get a lot of information for them, or they can get information. And often I get out of it that they're receiving love and, you know, they're getting a gift from somebody that they're seeing in this wonderful hall. And often it's love. But also we can go back and we can go forward and we can find out what's in store for them safely. And that's fun. And like I said, if I have time to do that, and I'm trying to work it out that I could do a little bit of that, if that's okay with you guys at IACT, I would like to take them on a little journey to their Akashic records. I think that would be fun as well. But we'll see, you know, if I need to work with people for therapy, I'm going to do that. Whoever signs up for my class, if we need to work on you for therapy, whether it's me working with you that day, or if I'm going to say, you know, let's meet here and let's work on this, I'm going to do that. And I will help whoever I can in any way that I can. And that's a promise.
This is great. I have a real curious question for you. Have you ever worked with anybody or done a past life regression with anybody and found out that this was their first life?
You know what? I've not actually. How about you?
I haven't. It just
Has
struck me.
anybody? Has that happened to anybody?
I bet you Shelley has.
Shelley, it has to you?
Well,
Has
in
it?
a weird way, I was there at a birth of a baby, and a palm reader looked at his hand and said, "This child has no karma." And this child, as a matter of fact, had sudden infant syndrome and is quite damaged. He's now 40 years old, but he had no lines on his hand, and she said he had no karma. Now I don't know if that was true or not, but you know, he certainly was supposed to be 90% brain dead by UCLA doctors, but he did come around, so maybe this was his first earth walk.
Maybe. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I haven't had that. I mean, I have had some instances where you probably have experienced this as well. Sometimes they're going too deep, and especially if they're your students, people that you've worked with before, they go too deep, and it's like, okay, so how is your experience? I didn't get one. And I'm always trying to say, I'm always saying to myself, how could you not have experience? You have to have some experience. Your mind is working. Okay. Your mind is working. You must have had some experience. What did you feel? I've got nothing. And you know what? I'll really work with them I'll work with them one-on-one. I'll say, look, whether it's Zoom or come to me, let me see what I can do, because I want you to have an experience. I want you to have an experience. But I have people, especially if they've worked with me for a while, that they go so deep that they just don't remember it. But I'll also give suggestions and about that over the course of the next few days or few weeks, that they will receive information via dreams. So maybe journal this, notice whispering in your ear. And typically the angels will tell me something, tell Johnny to, go for a walk in the woods and notice what the breeze is whispering to them. They will give me some information on how this person can get some information that they need. Okay. Because I don't want them to just be like and asleep. And sometimes, you'll hear people snoring. Okay.
That to me is really exciting. I like the idea of opening up, and I do this with everything that I do in hypnosis. I think of opening up possibilities where you don't know what's going to present itself. But by the way, according to Maurice Chevalier, every little breeze whispers Louise. But I don't know if that's true for everyone. But Jackie, we're running towards the end of our time, and I just want to mention that on Sunday afternoon, you're going to be doing a workshop as well on simple self-hypnosis. So everybody look forward to that. And you gotta sign on for this thing if you wanna do some stuff with past life regression and Jacqueline LeClaire. So please be there. We've got maybe just.
And you're going to get a certificate a certificate from it, and it's going to be really nice. You can put it on your wall. Okay.
Lovely. All right. Any last comments or anything that you want to put out there before we wrap this thing up? Because it's going to get crazy here in just another minute or so.
I just wanted to say thank you to both the speakers. I learned a lot, and it opened up my eyes a lot.
Thank you, Victoria. I hope to see you. Well, I'll see you at the conference, I'm assuming.
And by the way, when
I'll be there virtually.
Pardon me?
Oh, great. Yeah.
You what?
Conference, by the way, everybody.
You'll be there virtually. Good for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because my health, I can't leave and travel right now, but I found out last session that I could go virtually.
Yay, awesome. Okay, great. I'll be looking for you, Victoria.
All right.
So are we ready for the craziness? Here is the craziness. By the way, and Shelley, again, we had to stop quickly and we didn't get a chance to do this. So what's going to happen now? It is going to be double duty here. We've had a great time with our presenters tonight, and we want to make sure that they know it. So in a moment,
Before you do that, Michael, may I butt in and share a secret real quick? May I make an announcement that hasn't been shared as yet?
Sure.
Next month, May 9th, for the virtual chapter, you're the first to know about it. Michael Watson is going to be our featured guest. It has been a long time since we have had a whole show that features Michael Watson. So you're the first to know. Put it on your calendar. That's May 9th. It's the virtual chapter. Join us. It will be one to remember. I'm sorry, Michael. Now the floor is yours.
I feel like I'm the second person to know, actually. So it's going to be wonderful. So everybody, what we want to do is we just want to send off our presenters and with our gratitude and thanks, and to give all of you at once in a great cacophonous swelling of love and affection. Thanks for let them know. Thanks for being here, and
thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Karen.
Thank you, guys.
With
We'll see you in Orlando.
See you next month. Thanks a lot.
night, everyone.